Hello friends, welcome to this video. And this video is very important because I will be discussing the non-performing asset. Banking sector is a very favorite sector of the UPSC, especially in the prelims examination. And non-performing asset is a big problem which has been in news in the last 4-5 years. Therefore, this topic becomes very important. I will be covering only the prelims perspective. For the mains perspective, I will be making the separate video, right? So, first of all, what is the meaning of non-performing asset? And when I say non-performing asset, before that, I need to tell you what is the meaning of asset. So, just think, what is the meaning of asset? Okay, so asset basically means any property. It is the property from which the business is going to earn its future income, right? So this is a simple meaning of the asset. This is a simple meaning of the asset. Now, for a banking company or for a bank, what is the meaning of asset, or what is the property from which it is going to earn the interest? So there can be two types of property with the bank. One is the loans and advances it gives to the customers. It will form the major source of income. And second will be the investment made by the bank into the government securities. So we are talking only about the loans and advances. We are not talking about the investment by the banks in the government securities. So for this discussion, the asset basically means the loans and advances which the bank has given to its customers or the borrowers, right? Now, this is the meaning of asset. When we call this asset as the non-performing asset, so the term is non-performing, means it is not performing, right? So what are the criteria for performance? The criteria for performance is basically twofold. One is the repayment of the principal and second is the regular payment of the interest, right? So for any loan, there are two things which the bank has to receive from the customer. One is the repayment of the principal amount and second is the interest income. And these repayment or the interest payment has to be in a predefined schedule in different installments, right? And when these installments are due, the date on which these installments of the principal or the interest are due, that is called the due date, right? So this asset or this loan account is due on the due date. This is due on the due date. And now the question arises, if the customer fails to pay the loans and advances installment on the due date, does it become the non-performing? No. It becomes overdue on the due date, but it does not become the non-performing, right? This loan account will be classified into non-performing once it remains overdue for the 90 days. For the 90 days. Now let us see the example. For example, the due date is 1st of January 2019. The principal or the interest installment is due on 1st of January 2019, right? So after 1st of January 2019, the customer is not paying, then this is called the overdue loan account. Loan account being overdue does not mean non-performing asset. When this loan account remains overdue for next 90 days, that is up to 31st of March 2019, at this moment, this will be called the non-performing asset. On 1st of April 2019, this will be called as the non-performing asset. Till this time, this will not be called as the non-performing asset, right? So I hope this concept is very much clear to you. Now, once the account becomes non-performing asset, at this point, in the future, this will be called the NPA. Now, again, in the future, depending upon the period for which this account remains due, this amount remains due, again, we will classify this NPA into different categories, right? So, on 1st of April 2019, this account became the NPA. For the next 1 year, this account remains NPA, and for the next 1 year, this will be called as the substandard assets. Substandard asset. For the next 2 years, from the 31st of March 2020, that is, in other words, we can say when the account remains classified as NPA for more than 12 months and up to 36 months, then this NPA is called as the doubtful asset, right? So from 31st of March 2020 to 31st of March 2022, this account will be called as the doubtful assets. And after this, that is after the 36 months have been elapsed after the NPA account was classified as the NPA, we call this as the loss asset. Right? So these are the three different categories of the NPA: the substandard asset, the doubtful asset, and the loss asset. Now you can ask that what is the purpose of classifying these accounts into three different categories? So the purpose of classification into three more categories is that according to the time the loan account remains classified as NPA, the bank can take the more serious steps, right? So for the substandard asset, the steps will be different. For the doubtful asset and the loss asset, the steps for the recovery and the provisioning requirement will be different. We will see what is the meaning of provisioning after some time, right? Now, sir, you will say, sir, up to 90 days it is not called NPA. So is there any other alternative name given to this loan, or this becomes a normal loan account? So friends, I want to tell you that till 2014, RBI said that when the account remains overdue up to 90 days, this will be simply called as the standard asset. This is not an NPA, this is a standard asset. But this norm was changed after 2014 because the problem of NPA becomes so huge, and it was required at this point of time that the bank need to identify the suspicious account or the defaulting account before it actually becomes the NPA. So from 2014 onwards, these overdue accounts were further classified into three categories up to 90 days, right? So on 1st of January 2019, this becomes overdue. From 1st of January 2019, for the next 30 days, this will be classified as the special mention account category 0, right? Special mention account category 0. This loan will be classified as SMA 0, that is special mention account 0, when this remains overdue up to 30 days. After 30 days up to 60 days, this will be classified as special mention account 1, that is SMA 1 category, and from 60 days to the 90 days, this will be classified as the SMA 2, right? So from 1st of January to 31st of March, that is up to 90 days, this loan will be classified as the special mention account, and further three categories 0, 1 and 2, right? Now let us see how the special mention account and the non-performing assets are different, right? So first of all, this special mention account, this has to be identified by the bank itself, right? And this non-performing asset, this has to be identified by the bank itself also, and sometimes it is the auditors who identify an account as the NPA even if the loan is overdue for less than 90 days, right? And the condition can be that the loan security is not collectible. So in case the value of the security for the loan is negligible or it is not recoverable, in that case the auditors can also classify any special mention account as a non-performing asset, right? So NPA can be classified by the bank itself or by the RBI also, and the NPA and the special mention account are classified by the bank itself, right? NPA has been in existence for a long period of time. However, this category of special mention account came in the 2014 only. Then this is the most important difference. The most important difference is that what to do regarding the SMA account. In case of SMA, there is no provisioning requirement. However, in case of non-performing asset, there is a provisioning required. What is the meaning of provision? So provision basically means a kind of reserve. And here reserve basically means that we are taking a certain part from the bank's profit and keeping it aside, right? We are not allowing that profit to distribute to the shareholders. We are having that profit as a reserve. And how to determine how much amount will be kept as a reserve or will be kept as the provision? So that amount is defined, that amount is determined based upon the category of the NPA. In case of substandard asset, this provisioning is between 10% to 15%. In case of doubtful asset, this provisioning is 40% of the value of the loan. And in case of loss asset, this is equivalent to 100% of the value of the loan, right? So this is the most important impact of the NPA. This is how the NPA is impacting the balance sheet and the profit and loss of the bank. It increases the losses of the bank. It reduces the profit of the bank. So it has an impact over the health of the bank. At the same time, the bank also need to stop recognizing the interest payment or interest receipt. So although the interest is payable from the customer to the bank, but bank cannot say that this is the income of the bank, because this account has been classified as an NPA. Only in case the customer deposits in cash the amount of interest, then only we can classify that interest as the income. So there are two impacts of the NPA over the bank. One is the provisioning has to be done, some amount of the profit has to be kept aside, and secondly, the second important requirement is that the interest income will not be recognized as the income of the bank, right? So these are the two adverse impact of the NPA over the balance sheet of the bank, and that is why the balance sheets of the bank have been becoming bad, and this is leading to the problem of twin balance sheet crisis, where on the one hand the corporate balance sheet are declining, or the corporate balance sheet are becoming bad because of the different reasons, and that is actually impacting the balance sheet of the bank, because the banks are facing the problem of the NPA, right? Now you can think that if the bank has put aside some part of its profit, or if the bank has made the provision with respect to an NPA, does the customer is relieved from its obligation to pay back the loan? No sir, the customer is not relieved back. Customer has to pay back the loan even if it is NPA. The right of the bank to recover its loan does not get extinguished. The bank has a full right to recover the loan, right? So don't confuse that this provisioning means that the bank will not recover the loan from the customer. It has a right. However, the bank is just being cautious. The bank is being conservative in ensuring that it does not unnecessarily increase its profit. It does not unnecessarily recognize the interest as the income, because there are chances that this interest or this loan may not be repaid, right? Now there are some special terms related to the non-performing asset. We will see those terms. Yeah, so these are some of the associated terms with respect to the non-performing asset. The first term is the restructured loans. So any loan which has been restructured is called the restructured loan. This restructuring can take place in various forms. Firstly, the repayment period for the loan can be increased. For example, earlier it was 5 years, now it can be increased to 10 years, right? So now this loan need to be repaid for the within the 10 years rather than the 5 years. Secondly, the interest rate can be reduced because the condition of the company or the borrower is poor. So bank is becoming compassionate. It is being practical and supporting the company by reducing the interest rate, maybe from, so for example, earlier it was 12%, now it is decreasing it to 8%. Then the third form of the restructuring can be that the bank has given the loan, right? So for the borrower, the bank's loan is a debt. So this debt can be converted into the equity. So bank, instead of loan, can hold this amount as the equity. The bank can become the owner. This is the third form of restructuring. And fourth form of restructuring is the additional funding. So maybe there is a chance that with a small amount of fund by the bank to the borrower may be revived. So in this case, the additional amount is given to the borrower, and this is also one kind of the restructuring of the loan. So these are the different scenarios possible, and all these scenarios when happen to a loan, this is called restructured loan, right? So before recovery or before taking any penal actions, before doing any harsh activity upon the borrower, the bank actually tries that this loan is actually converted from NPA to the non-NPA through the restructuring, right? So this is the first term. Then second is the stressed assets. This term is also very much in news. So stressed assets has three components. The first component is the NPA. So all those loan accounts which are overdue for a period of more than 90 days, those accounts are called NPA, and those are part of the stressed asset. Secondly, the loans written off, right? So those loans which have been assumed by the bank that these will not be collected, so they have been identified uncollectible based upon the recommendation of the auditor, or maybe based upon the ground assessment. So such accounts are written off. So again, this written off is accounting exercise. It is not leaving the, it is not actually the bank leaving its right to recover. Bank has a full right to recover. It is just writing it off from the books of account, so that the books of account give the real picture, not the exaggerated picture. So first is the NPA, second is the loans written off, and third is the restructured loan, which we already discussed. So these are the three components of the stressed assets. Now the third term is the evergreening of loans. So evergreening basically means enhancing the life of the loans. And evergreening is done by the borrower when the borrower is taking the new loan to pay the old loan. So for example, the State Bank of India has given the loan to the borrower. Now the due date of the State Bank of India is approaching. So what borrower does, borrower goes to the second bank, for example to the Punjab National Bank, and Punjab National Bank gives the loan to the borrower. From that loan, the borrower is returning to the State Bank of India. So this is called evergreening of loans, right? And the last is basically the non-performing asset in case of farm loans. So basically the condition of 90 days is applicable to the non-farm loans. The farm loans, that is the agricultural loans, are having a different nature. So in case of agricultural loans, the 90 days condition is not applicable, but the crop seasons is the criteria, right? So in case of short duration crops, if the loans remains overdue for more than 2 crop seasons, then it is classified as the NPA. However, in case of long duration crops, if the loan remains overdue for more than 1 crop season, then this is classified as the NPA. So please keep in mind in the examination that if it is a case of agricultural loan, then the condition of 90 days is not applicable. In that case, the condition of 2 crop season or the 1 crop season is the applicable condition. So this is all about the basics of the NPA. In the next video, I'll be covering the different government initiatives taken by the government to alleviate the problem of the NPA, right? So thank you very much. Keep watching, keep sharing. Thank you very much.